All right, so I'm going into my first coaching session with Noah. I'm a little bit nervous because really I've never done this before. I've never worked with a teacher and actually like giving advice. I feel like this coaching is something that I'm good at. I've got some experience coaching sports, but this is a good bit different. Um, Tomorrow, as far as my strategy goes, I'm really just kind of planning on being open. What I want to do is have a general conversation with them. And in our book, Jim Knight talks about developing this partnership and giving them their classroom. I don't think that I'll necessarily have any trouble with that, but anytime you can turn your um, interview, so to speak, or um, whatever you want to call it, into a conversation, I think that that's the best way to kind of get real information from the teacher. We've I've observed his lesson and we videoed it. So we're going to watch that video and then try to create a current reality, and then just kind of go from there to identify some goals. And nervous is the best word, but I mean not nervous in like a negative way. Instead, I guess a little uneasy because I don't really know what to expect. I don't know how he's going to respond, and I want to be careful with my words. I think that the impact cycle, I really enjoy reading that book so far, and it's given me a lot of really good insight and really kind of confirmed a lot of thoughts and ideas that I've previously had about coaching. And so I kind of gained confidence from that. But as far as like how to actually play that out, I've got a list of questions that I'm going to use, and I've written them down, which sometimes gets me in trouble because when I write stuff down and I move to what it is I'm going to ask, I can easily become very scripted. And so like in job interviews, I really struggle with that because like I know a lot of the questions they're going to ask, and what ends up happening is I know what I want to say, but then we get in there and I start trying to stick to what I wrote down, if that makes sense. And so, I've done that with Noah. I think I'll be okay because it's not quite as formal and there's not as much on the line as say like a job interview or or whatever. But um, being able to stay organized with my thoughts and so on and so forth, it is a little bit nerve wracking, but I know that I'll get better as I gain experience. Obviously, he's a first year teacher, so I think throughout the course of this, there's going to probably be a lot of growth. I mean, if I'm a coach worth my salt, anyways, he's going to grow and he's going to learn and he's going to get better. Excuse me. And if he's able to move forward and grow as a result of me, then I feel like I would have done my job. But something I really like that the book says and the book talks about is it's not really on me. It's more about the teacher setting their own goals and me not imposing my will and us creating like a trusted partnership. Those are things that I think are really interesting because you don't really see that a lot in education. There's not a partnership approach between administration and teachers a lot of times, or instructional coaches and teachers. And so I'm really kind of looking forward to being able to work from that perspective and practice that perspective, because I think that Jim Knight hits the nail on the head when he says that. Um, because it can't be a forced thing. When it does, walls go up and then people are less willing to try things. I know I myself have been in situations like that. And so the opportunity to give Noah a positive experience, but then also help get him to reflect and set his own direction, that's something that I'm really looking forward to. And like I said, I think my biggest challenge is going to be to not be scripted and to let him feel that I'm empathetic and that I'm being real with him and that our conversation is real. Um, he coaches football with me. Um, so we kind of have a little bit of rapport and a little bit of a relationship. So I don't feel like necessarily trust is going to be an issue, but just making it seem like it's a real conversation. And it is a real conversation, but, the camera's there. So I kind of feel like there would be some factors there that are not naturally there. Um, Another challenge that I think, um, is I'm going to struggle with throughout the course of our coaching sessions, um, is going to be that he teaches science. And to be honest with you, I don't know a hill of beans about science. I don't know anything about the content. He teaches ecology and biology to ninth and 10th grade students, and that kind of makes me a little bit nervous. I can tell them what works in economics or U.S. history or world history or government, social studies, but I'm kind of nervous to try to find strategies. I know that the internet is going to be my best friend, and I've got people here in the program that I can contact and reach out to that can help me with some strategies that can be really effective. Our other classes in this program have given me a set of tools that can be really effective, and so. Um, you know, just being in a different content area and having no background in science is a challenge I think that is somewhat difficult, but we'll just take things, I guess, one step at a time and just kind of work through everything. Um, it's funny, like I'm kind of excited about this because the things that we're learning I think are really productive, and it's a productive use of our time as far as the class itself. But that doesn't change the fact that there's some, anxiousness, and I'm just, I'm looking forward to getting through this and kind of learning through the process. I think the videos are really unique because I can go back and watch our conversation and look at my presence and look at my reactions and my responses to what he's saying, and I can really kind of see what they're seeing, and my classmates can do the same, and I'll get feedback, and we'll head down this road. But I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting Dr. Kane's feedback as well, and just going from there. All right, so I'll talk to you guys in a few days. All right, so a couple of days ago, um, I did my first coaching session with Noah. Noah, like I said in the first video, is a first year teacher, and um, Noah's feeling a good bit overwhelmed with his work. He in his first unit, he did not experience a lot of success in regards to his test scores, and Noah and I have been around each other a good bit over the summer and early in the school year because we coach football together, but we've not really been together a lot in terms of his classroom. So really going into my coaching session with him, my strategy overall was to really get a lot of his feedback and get a lot of his honest and open feelings out in conversation. I wanted to have a lot of openness and give him a lot of opportunity to engage and discuss the things that he's experiencing, the things that we saw from his video, and the things that we could agree upon. It was very important to me that we developed a true partnership, and that he felt like he was in control of the conversation, and he felt like he was in control of his classroom. I did not in any way want him to feel like I was dictating or that I'm trying to force him into a box to do things that he doesn't want to do. It was very important that I develop trust with him, and that he could see that I was interested um, in seeing him grow and seeing him improve in various different ways. So there was a particular instance in our conversation in which I felt that I needed to interject a strategy and I should push a goal in. However, I chose not to do that because I felt that had I done that, it could have come across as pushy. And so I wanted to be very gentle and easy with my insertions of any opinion that I had, or the data that showed the last thing I want him to do is to be offended by any sort of data. But together we were able to evaluate what the current reality is like in his room, and we were both able to get an agreeable and realistic picture as to what his classroom looks like, and that kind of helped us move forward with our goals. So the goals that we developed were to increase engagement and to increase time on task. And after leaving that, I've been able to research some strategies and really kind of analyze our conversation, and being able to view it on the computer is really giving me a perspective that allows me to see the direction that we were in, or the place that we were in, the direction that we're going, and what's really best for him. I'm going to continue to take time to think about the strategies that could be best for him in his classroom as far as instruction and how he can increase that time on task and his engagement. I did not really notice any skill changes. Obviously, it's our first session, so there's more opportunities to observe and see. And Noah is very open in general. And I think maybe that comes from him being a first-year teacher. However, I felt that he had a really good attitude. I felt like he was really positive and really open to change. At no point in the conversation did I feel like he was not being real or being open or being honest. I do feel maybe that there was a little bit of a wall there, and maybe some of his truest opinions may not have come out. However, my hope is that with creating a lot of openness and developing trust and a relationship with him, that hopefully any honesty that maybe is being shielded will eventually come out, and we can have no barriers or boundaries between our conversation. And I'm looking forward to coaching him in the future and moving forward. I feel like we've gotten ourselves off on a really good foot, and now I just need to continue to research and find strategies that he can use to really continue his development as a teacher, and things that can really impact him in a positive way and move forward a great deal. If I can do that, I think it's going to help me be successful with him and potentially others. Going into our conversation, the only real challenge that I had was a little bit of nervousness because it's my first opportunity to coach a teacher, and not really having a background in science is maybe was a little bit uneasy, but really, I guess what I'm learning is that the strategies that are working in one room can carry over with slight modifications into other content areas and other subjects. So really, I think what I've got to do moving forward is really be open-minded, perhaps have some conversations with other teachers about strategies that they're using in their room, and do a little research online in order to surround myself with as many strategies as possible that he can use. The first thing that popped into my head was backward design, using that to help plan his lessons. That's the one thing that is really sticking for me right now as far as the way that he can improve his instruction. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to find other stuff and other solutions to other challenges that he's having in his classroom. I've got a couple ideas, but I really just kind of need to continue to think through those strategies and then just move forward. But I'm looking forward to it, and we'll move on to our second coaching session here in about another 2 weeks, and then just go from there. All right, so about midweek last week, Noah and I met for our second coaching session, and going into the coaching session again, I wanted to give him ample opportunity to feel as if he's in control of his classroom, because at the end of the day, he is. I'm not the one teaching the lessons. So we started off the meeting by really reviewing the goals that we had set in the first session. And then I shared with him a checklist that I had made that I felt if all the things in the checklist were evident, he would have taught a very strong lesson. And then I gave Noah an opportunity to modify, and Noah wanted to make sure that we included unpacking the standards as part of the process to plan, and then what he's actually going to ask the students to do, and how we can measure the effectiveness of the strategies based on their work and based on really the feedback that he's getting from the room. And then he had an opportunity to suggest how he could get the best picture for what the lesson would look like. So he asked me to model, and we really talked through everything in the lesson. And then about 2 days later, I went back in and I modeled. And so what we had the students doing is we had them working through a web quest with the content. He helped modify the web quest to fit specifically his class and the standards for his class, as well as the things from his backward design. And then we had a tic-tac-toe activity in which the students were paired into groups, and they were able to choose what they wanted to do as far as like a PowerPoint, a short story, so on and so forth. And they have 3 activities they have to do as a group collectively. And so really the modeling was how to manage the environment, how to walk around the room. We chose to model when no students were present. And so I taught the class and he listened. It was a short version, obviously. But then once I completed my modeling, then Noah got up and he walked through it, and almost sort of like a dress rehearsal. And, Noah seemed to be most curious how he should divide his time among the students that may be struggling, and how he can get the students that become off task back on task. And really we just discussed, focusing first off, he needed to pair his groups with students that would be positive influences on each other, that could challenge each other, but then would also work well together. And so something that he did is he put the right groups, for the most part, not every group, but he put the right students in the right groups. And then really just kind of I encourage him to spend his time with those that maybe are lower level learners and those that struggle the most with staying on task, and provide them with the most attention. And then he was able to kind of allow his higher level students who were more diligent in their work to kind of work on their own. So it didn't take everything that he had in the room to reach everyone necessarily. Those higher level learners, I talked to him about, make sure that you're giving them attention, but they don't require as much as maybe students who become more off task. And from the modeling, I've witnessed Noah grow in his confidence. I witnessed him grow in his presence, and I really witnessed him grow in his management. And really, he kind of began to understand, okay, I've got 30 kids in this class. How can I effectively teach each and every one of them? And I think the light bulb really clicked for him in that with some of the students you don't have to teach because they work really, really hard and they have really good habits. And, there's a level of trust that he has with them that they're going to be productive with their time. And then being able to provide the structure and emphasis that the whole class needs, but then really specifically with those students that maybe are struggling or maybe lack the discipline that is needed in the class. And so seeing that confidence in him was really pleasing and rewarding for me. And I'm really excited to hear as he begins to implement this class. He's actually implementing it tomorrow, and he's going to work with these lesson plans. It's going to take him roughly 5 days to get through everything, but the students have opportunities to where they can really be producers with the material but they can really kind of take interest in it of themselves. And hopefully, with universal design and with backward design, hopefully the WebQuest and the tic tac toe. Hopefully, what's able to happen is the time on task is going to improve drastically, and hopefully engagement, real engagement, not just compliant engagement, is going to improve drastically. Since the coaching session and being able to watch that coaching session and really gather my own thoughts, I really wish we had included something in the goal about remediation, and how he's going to remediate throughout and review as he goes. It's probably going to be a private conversation that he and I have, that he needs to consider ways that he can measure student progress and assess student progress as they move throughout the activity, and really give him an understanding of what are the things that they don't understand. And so he gets a really clear picture of what are they struggling with, what are they doing well with, what do I need to make sure that I emphasize the most. I think if he does that, he'll have a really well-rounded lesson. I think these strategies will be effective in helping him fix or have solutions for the challenges that he's facing. And I'm excited to hear about how it goes. I'll be able to talk to him later this week about at football practice about how he feels things are going with this particular lesson, and really for him to be able to have a wider skill set and a wider range of tools that he can use at his disposal. He can grow in confidence in them, grow in experience, and then he should be able to problem solve better in the future, and maybe come up with some solutions. Come up with some solutions on his own that can serve him a great deal. But that's all we've got for the second journal entry, and looking forward to hearing your feedback on this. Thanks. All right, so I just finished up my coaching session with Noah, my last coaching session. Finished up actually a couple of days, and I've taken some time to kind of get my thoughts together and just really reflect on the whole experience of coaching him, but more specifically this most recent session. And the strategies that we identified and that he used and implemented in his classroom were backward design. And like I said in an earlier video, no one did not realize or know that he could use the test to plan and plan his lessons. So I taught him to take the questions and number them and categorize them by standard, and then teach the things that are most heavily asked and most frequently asked, and really hammer home those thoughts and explain, that the milestone, that these tests should be somewhat of a reflection of the most important things in the standards, and that the most important things in the standards should be asked on the milestone. And so by taking this test, it would help him prepare. And so he used that to really create greater efficiency in his planning, be more productive in his planning, but then make sure that his lessons are more specific to the content that is most important and has the greatest need to be addressed. And then we also use universal design to create greater engagement. So some issues that he was having was time on task and engagement. And, universal design allows him to create a more personalized and differentiated approach to his classroom, and it gives the students choice. And we wanted to use this as a specific way to attack his engagement issues, and if he could fix those engagement issues, that should help his time on task, and that should result in higher test scores. And his big thing is higher test scores. So, universal design can approach a lot of different problems, but it also presents a great way for him to be able to bring in and implement new types of technology into his lesson and different types of technology. It opens up the door for students to begin to investigate and research technology and really just take ownership of their learning, which can really change the culture of his room from being more of a teacher-centered environment to more student-centered. And by doing this, he's going to adjust the culture of his room, and it has adjusted the culture of his room. He's created more buy-in, and more students are producers in his room as opposed to being consumers of the content. And this change in culture has really been extremely beneficial. Moving forward to what we've seen a difference in Noah. I've seen a change in really his presence in the room. I've seen a change in his confidence. Back before we started any of this coaching, he was having some difficulty with some students in some classes, and while those are not fully resolved yet, I think he feels much more confident in the strategies that he can implement. He's feeling much more confident in his ability to manage those students. Also, his test scores before we began to meet, his test scores were a little bit lower, and administration was making sure that he understood that they wanted improvements in his scores. So he's feeling a lot of stress, and I think backward design and universal design have both allowed him the confidence and the comfort and a wider tool set to be able to pull out different things and have different strategies to approach different problems. And I've just seen a lot of confidence in him. His test scores have gone up. His time on task with students has gone up. Student engagement has increased at high amounts. And so what you're seeing that universal design is giving him better pedagogical knowledge. Right, he's his first year, so he knows a lot of the content, but he's still learning and still getting comfortable and figuring out how to actually teach that to anywhere from 14 to 18-year-old students. And then lastly, universal design also gives him more opportunities and options and gives him more tools to bring technology into the room and find ways to really motivate and engage his learners by using technology and providing that personalized experience like we talked about. So the TPAC framework fits in here because he's growing in all these areas. He's growing in his content, he's growing in his pedagogical knowledge, and he's growing in the uses of technology in the classroom. And it's really cool to see that evolve and to see his confidence grow in the things that he's doing. And when I first started coaching him before, as I said in the first video, I was really pretty nervous because I've never worked with a fellow teacher or colleague before. And although I'm more experienced, it's just a little different than teaching or coaching students. But now the position that I'm in, I feel like coaching is necessary. I feel like everybody should get coaching, but coaching should not be about the coach. It should be about the coachee, and the person that's receiving the support, the teacher. And it really has kind of confirmed my own thoughts and my own ideas that coaching should be focused on them, and it should be a deal where they're setting their own goals and they're figuring out how they can reach those goals. And in my role, I'm really just responsible for helping identify how we can get there and providing ideas and solutions and helping come up with solutions for whatever challenges it is that they're facing. But that it's not my classroom, it's not my football team, it's not any other genre you want to insert coaching into. It's their classroom, and they have to grow and they have to buy in. And I think the most important thing that I can do as a coach is I can provide solutions. I think the most important thing that I can do as a coach is, number one, develop a partnership, develop a trusted relationship with my teacher, number two, and then number three, make sure that I have real solutions for real problems in the room, and that we both have to agree on the problems that are there. And then my solutions, they have got to work. And if they don't work, I've got to be committed. And the teacher that I'm working with has to know that I'm committed to finding ways to help them, and that I will search to problem solve, and we will problem solve together. And also, it's not just my ideas that are going to provide solutions. That their ideas provide solutions, and talking about the positives that they do. And finding solutions for whatever challenge it is that they're facing, I think is very important, because when they realize that I'm going to find the answers and I'm going to help them develop answers to the things that they're struggling with, that promotes buy-in. And then when one person buys in, then that the word spreads, and someone else will buy in, and slowly but surely, as we talked about with the diffusion model, we change the culture of the school. And maybe not everybody's going to buy in, but um, it can be a significant enough of the population that buys in, that that really affects the environment and the school that we live in, and the culture of the school becomes truly unique and specialized to that place, and it's different than everywhere else. That culture is what really sets the school or the program apart, and we're able to be like none other. So this has been my experience. It's been a really great experience. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to coach, to be coached on how to coach. And I'm thankful for Dr. Kane and his feedback, and my peers' feedback, and being able to watch myself coach Noah really throughout the semester. I'm really thankful for it. And this has been very beneficial for me, and I know it's been beneficial for Noah as well. And I'm just thankful for this class and this program.